What's going on, my college football fans? How are you doing? This is Jerome Jones. I got my man Ray Roberts, the man, the myth, the legend, right there. And this is the RPO College Football Podcast, your favorite college football podcast. We are glad to be here today, and we got a lot to talk about. But first, I want to see how my guy Ray doing. How you doing, Ray?
I'm okay, man. Notre Dame was off last week, so it was a little empty. Not having that game, as you know, from not having a Michigan game. But I watched a lot of college football still. Watched some NFL football on Sunday. Um, didn't watch a lot of good football this weekend, to be honest with you. Though it
I
wasn't it
agree.
wasn't great, dude. It was okay.
The only good games were the primetime games, which I have to say, kudos to the NFL. I don't know how they do it, or I don't know how it's working out, but all the primetime games, the Sunday night games, the Monday night games, the Thursday night games, they all been great. I think it was only one bad one so far, but for the Sunday games, this week was Saturday games, eh. So
Yeah, I
both of our
mean,
teams was on a bye this week, so
yeah, it was a little empty feeling, and like I said, I
yeah,
watched a lot of college football anyway, and I watched some NFL football. But I didn't watch a lot of good football. The Monday night game, the Sunday night game were good, but
yeah,
everything else that I watched was kind of like, eh.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
like,
agree.
I
And
mean,
I think it's crazy because like we have. I'm sorry.
I didn't say nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I agree. And the only good thing I can say that happened this weekend is that Michigan is now number 6. That's all I can say. Hey, it been a minute since I seen the Michigan Wolverines this high in the rankings. It feels so good. Feels good, so good, and hopefully we keep up our performance in the game and stuff like that. But we got a lot to talk about today, so we're gonna get into that. So before we even start, guys, we are a live podcast. So if you guys are watching live right now, please put in your comments because we will put them on the screen. We will comment on there if you have any pickums. We're gonna be doing pickums later. So if you have any questions on lines or what you think, Ray's kicking my butt right now. So, but we'll talk about that in a second when we talk about our pickums. So if you do have a comment in here, put the comments right in here, and we will answer them live for you guys. But we got some breaking news. We got some big news that just came out a few weeks ago, or for a few days ago, rather. Coach O, as most of you know him by, Coach Ed or Orgeron. I would say his last name wrong. Orgeron is stepping down as head coach. It's considered a mutual parting, but LSU's parting ways with him. Ray, um, hope you heard the news. I hope you read up on this. What is your feelings on Coach O leaving the LSU Tigers?
You know what? I don't have a lot of opinions about it as far as I don't know that much about how LSU works internally. I don't know who their AD is or nothing. I don't think they should have done it, but I feel about firing football coaches in midstream like that, man. I don't agree with it. I think it's something you need to think about. LSU was spoiled because they had that one big year. And don't get me wrong, they're LSU. They have a lot of talent. They probably should be a little better than they are. But if you thought that they were going to be as good as they were when they won the national title 2 years ago, then you probably weren't being realistic. We talked about this, Jerome. LSU is good. They're not ever going to be Alabama. They're not going to be Ohio State. They're going to be good, and so they're going to have their years where they have like 2 and 3 years returning starters, and they're good that year. But
Yeah,
then they got to rebuild it again a little
yeah,
bit. I mean, at least recoup, what they've brought in. I mean, we've talked about this over and over again. Like, I feel the same way about Texas A&M. I feel the same way about all these other teams that are going to be good, but then they're going to after they hit that peak of having guys on the same roster for 2 or 3 years, they're going to have
yeah,
to rebuild it again. They're going
yeah,
to have to. So if you thought that Ed Orgeron was going to be like you were going to win every year now, because that wasn't ever going to happen, so you weren't being realistic.
yeah. I just think this is one of the quickest turnarounds after winning a championship I've seen since the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh my God. I was just going to say, how about Doug Peterson?
Yo, seriously, because the man just won a championship 2 years ago. And like you say, everything you say, I 100% agree with it. Like, you have to rebuild. This is not NFL. This is not where you can sign players and draft players and keep players and give them more money. These kids are leaving in 2, 3, 4, sometimes 4 years right after that. And when you have those kids, when they first coming in, that freshman year is kind of a blank. Their second year, they get their feet into it. Once they get to like a junior, maybe even senior, they get like, all right, they're good. But then at that point, they're ready to go. So it's like to fire somebody within 2 years, and I get it. LSU have not lived up to high expectations, this and that. They lost a lot of coaches, and that's going to happen when you lose coaches. When you win the championship, you're going to lose coaches and stuff. So I just think that to fire him this early, I think it's, especially with college and the way college is, they're just asking to be mediocre for a minute. I mean, that's just what
I would be willing to bet that right now, again, I don't have no ties to LSU, that at the end of the year, you're going to see a lot of guys, or at least a decent amount of guys, leave LSU and go either in the transfer portal or maybe just go to another team as quickly as they can. Again, man, we remember when they won the title and they had Joe Burrow and they had so much talent, but that talent accumulated through two or three years. And then Joe Burrow, his first year wasn't that great. He was good, but he wasn't great. And then the next year, another year of college football, then he took that step up. That's when you're not giving Ed Orgeron enough time to rebuild the program before you got rid of him. I don't agree with it. I mean, yeah, man, I hate firing coaches, especially in the middle of the season. You don't do it.
Yeah, I agree, right? And every point that you said. I will say this. If this happens, it makes sense. There is still a possibility that their next head coach could be Joe Brady.
I would be very surprised if Joe Brady doesn't get a head coaching job in the NFL this year.
That too. Man, I mean, he's gonna be a well called out coach.
Correct. I could definitely see him if things don't work out with with Cincinnati, say he has his quarterback there. Yeah, I could definitely see him going there.
Quarterback and his wide receiver.
Exactly. I could definitely see him going there. If things turn out bad with Miami and they make a move for Deshaun Watson, or if they keep Tua, whatever they're going to do, I could see them going into Joe Brady. Like, I think that especially they've had Brian Flores, who's a defensive coach. A lot of times when teams hire offensive guys and they fail, they want to go defense and vice versa. It's only the Eagles, for some reason, have this. They love offensive coordinators. They just love them. They love offensive.
It drives me crazy being a defensive mind person.
And I agree with you, but I understand because you're investing a lot of money in quarterbacks. So I got that part of it. The one thing that I hate about it with them is not to get too involved. The one thing that drove me crazy when I heard about Doug Peterson was the game that they beat, I think it was the Bears, and they went out there, or Green Bay. Yeah, when they went out there and ran the ball like 30 times, that the owner comes in and tells Doug Peterson he ran the ball too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Any good coach is not going to tolerate that, man. So
I agree. With that being said, it's just weird to just see him get fired, like literally hours after upsetting Florida. So, like, as a segue, we're going to talk about our Week 7 review, and that's going to be the first game we're going to talk about. LSU versus Miami. I mean, I'm sorry, Florida. Florida was ranked 20th, and LSU upset them 49-42. And Ed gets fired right after. Let's talk about the game, and then maybe we can talk a little, tie that back into Ed Orgeron a little bit more. But what was your thoughts on this game? Johnson had 3 touchdowns, only 133 yards, so not a lot of yards from him, but he did get 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The defense had 4 interceptions off of them. What's your takeaway from this game?
The fact that Florida's defense couldn't stop Tyrion Davis-Price from guy had 387 yards, average like almost a first down every time he touched the ball. So why would you even right? So I mean, like exactly 3 touchdowns. I mean, little 8.2 yards a carry. I mean, like it's just crazy. I mean, why would you throw the ball if you're getting first downs when you're running the ball every time you touch the ball? I don't. And this was honestly, it was exciting to watch the game, but it was really sloppy defensively. And that was one of the games where, even though it looked exciting, if you looked at the score, to watch a game, you saw a lot of sloppy defense. So
a lot of sloppy defense. I think it was just crazy, like you said, 287 yards from Davis-Price. Florida couldn't stop them for nothing, and Florida was one of those teams that was high ranked beginning of the year. Now they're 4-3. We started off this season like, man, Florida's surprising us because we thought, man, Florida lost all these pieces, lost a quarterback, lost a tight end, lost a couple of weapons on at receiver, lost some offensive linemen. They're going to be bad this year. Came out, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was either 3-0 or 4-0, and then now they're 4-3. And unranked at this point, if I'm not mistaken, there was 20, so I believe they were probably unranked. I forgot. I haven't seen the this week's rankings, but what was your takeaway from like this team? Like they came out storming, like, man, they're looking crazy, and then it just fell apart.
I think their offense kind of hid some of their defensive in like bad spots last year with how well they moved the ball in offense. I think that their defense is just not good. They're just sloppy. They were sloppy last year, and they're even worse this year. I don't think Florida is a very good, well coached team right now. I just don't. So
Yeah, and Florida's defense don't allow the offense to make any mistakes, and as you see,
correct,
through four interceptions, both from Emory Johnson and Richardson, the 2 quarterbacks that they interchange each game usually. It just if the offense starts sputtering, the defense is not going to be able to hold them up or help them out at all, as you see from 49 points given up. So
it was a really sloppy game, really by both teams. Neither team played really good defense. It was just kind of sloppy. It was just surprising because against Alabama, Florida played a solid defensive game, especially in the second half. And then just like there's no regression. They're going backwards. And that's honestly, as a fan, if I were a fan of them, I would be upset by that. The fact that we're not getting better, we're getting worse.
I agree. All right. And like we said, Ed got fired right after this game. I mean, it wasn't a lot of defense from the game, but they won the game. They upset the team. I think it was just bad timing. I mean, it was, in my mind, that means that this was like pre what's the word I'm looking for? Pre
they already thought about it in their mind that they were going to fire him no matter what.
Exactly. And I think that was, again, I think it was the wrong, this is the wrong approach.
I just think like, just think about how they praised him 2 years ago. It was like he was walking on water with LSU, and now he's gone. And again, if they would have waited till the end of the season and said, the mutual respect thing, blah blah blah, that would have been one thing. But to fire him now,
exactly, and now he's still going to be playing. He's still going to be playing the rest of the year too. That's the weird thing.
You think? Do you really think these kids really want to go out there and play football now? They're being like, we fired the coach. We're playing. Hopefully, the players are saying we played like crap, and the coach got fired.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe a spark of fire under them or something. I
there
don't
is that
know.
possibility,
Hopefully.
Jerome. Here's my other thing: who was LSU hiring? You just fired a guy that won a national title 2 years ago. Who's taking that job now?
Joe Brady, maybe?
Wow, man. If you were Joe Brady, would you take that job or an offensive
No.
coordinator in the NFL?
No. Take the offense coordinator. I mean,
Or why would you not just wait till another like LSU? Don't get me wrong. I know LSU is an SEC team and they're a good team. But would you take that team over the USC job right now? I wouldn't.
Nah, I'll take USC.
Okay. I mean, like, that's what I mean. Like, by doing this to Ed Orgeron, you've made it very difficult for the next coach to sit down and feel comfortable about taking that job.
Yeah. And it's again, it's just the weirdness that he's gonna finish out the season. It's just like, and it said like it also said if they win a bowl, he's gonna be their coach for that bowl. So like, you tell me if he goes there, go turn it the season around, win a bowl, he's still not gonna be there afterwards. Or they're gonna be like, oh, never mind, you won a bowl, you good. I don't sit well in my mind. I don't know, but let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move on. Let's get to our next game: Michigan versus Indiana. This was a close game. Obviously, it's a Pac-12. I'm sorry, Big 10. Wow, I don't know what I'm saying. This is a Big 10 rivalry right here. Indiana coming to the game 2-4. Michigan was undefeated. Michigan State was undefeated. What was your takeaway from this game, right?
Again, not really a well played game.
Yeah.
Kind of like played between the 30s, like no one really scored a lot.
Yeah.
Kenny Walker struggled.
Yeah.
Peyton Thorne struggled. Jack Tuttle for Indiana quarterback struggled. Stephen Carr struggled. Ty Freiberger actually had 7 receptions, but didn't even have 70 yards. So the whole offense, everybody's offense, it was a good defensive game.
Yeah.
And there was like a lot of like some good hitting and everything. So if you're a Big Ten fan, you probably enjoyed that part of it. But if you watched the game, it was like kind of like an old Big Ten team, like in the 70s or the 60s.
Yeah.
There's not a lot going on really.
Yeah, and this game kind of made me worried about Michigan State. I mean, Michigan State was up 17-9 at one point. And then Iowa started coming back a little bit at the end. I just think that Michigan State is, although they're undefeated right now, a game like this put doubt in people's minds.
I agree. I think that if you watch Michigan State last week, you realize that if you do some nice things with your linebackers, you can stop them from running the ball. If you stop Kenny Walker, you basically stop their offense.
Yeah, Kenny Walker is a big one. So we're gonna talk about some of your schedule real quick. There were many games, and I know their next game, they're off this week. Their next game is against a good team. A blue-yellow team, amazing blue, Michigan team. But that's going to be their biggest test. If they can beat us, they're still going to be in good contention. But, I mean, we'll see. They're playing us. They're playing Purdue, which looked good this past week. We'll see how that goes. But, we'll talk about that a little bit later. They got Merlin. They got Ohio State, and they still got Penn State. So, they got some tough games. And, again, like I said, a game like that doesn't look too well. I mean, these teams that they beat, Northwestern, Youngstown, Miami. We already talked about how Miami plays. Nebraska, they beat them in overtime. West Kentucky, Rutgers, and Iowa in a tough game. So, yeah.
Michigan State beat Iowa this year.
Michigan State did not play Iowa.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they did not play Iowa. So
they really haven't played. Northwestern is a solid team. They usually are. But besides for that win, there's nothing else there really to put your hat on, you know. So
yeah, like I said, Nebraska, they went to overtime with them.
yeah,
You know, so it's not much of quality in teams. We'll see how they play against us. Because honestly, before this past game, I'll be completely honest. That was one of the games that I was nervous about because Michigan played down to the competition last year and lost to them last year when they were a terrible team. So I mean, again,
and Michigan State is that team for you, man.
Yeah.
They get up to play you guys. Let's face it. I mean, to them, they'd rather beat you than anybody. You know?
Exactly. No, I agree. It's just like how we would rather beat Ohio State than anybody. Like we'd rather go 0 what is it? 0-12, but beat Michigan State. I mean Ohio State. So it's just like this is how it is, I guess. But yeah, they don't look that hot. So we'll see how they play. Let's get to our next game, and that will be Oklahoma State versus Texas. Ooh, so Texas, we talked about this game. I think we both voted on this game. And
no, you won. I lost. I had Texas. You had Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm. And it was the same reason that I said, right? They come out hot. It was up 17-13 at halftime. They looked like they was gonna get it, and then they lost it at the end. Very inconsistent team, and this is what I keep saying. Like between Texas, Oklahoma, those teams, like they're so hot and cold this year. Oklahoma, Iowa State, they're so up. I mean, you got the Iowa State one. We'll talk about that. We won't talk about that, but you did get the Iowa State game. That for those inconsistencies. But like I said, Texas very inconsistent. Lost in the second, like they got killed in the second half of the game. What's some of your takeaways from this one?
No, Texas defense played horrible in the fourth quarter. Gave up 16 points.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple to figure out. They were winning by 2 scores, and then they just crapped the bed in the fourth quarter.
34-16 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean they gave up. I mean they gave up 16 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, what else do you have to know? I mean, it just honestly, Jerome. I mean, I don't understand what Texas is doing right now. I don't get it. I mean, like they're supposed to be, they're supposedly one of the powers in their conference, and then they're going to move to another conference in a couple of years. And let's
way harder.
If they play like in that conference the way they're playing right now, they won't even be a mid-lane team. They'll be like a bottom barrel team.
Jeez. Would you pick Mizzou over them at this point? Like if they was in the same conference at this point?
No, I wouldn't, because I still think Texas is more talent. But do I know that means they would beat them? No, I don't know that, because they're more talented than Oklahoma State too.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So, I mean, I don't know. I keep, you know what, man, I'm letting my age show a little bit. I keep thinking Texas could be Texas again eventually, but I guess maybe I'm wrong. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Robinson's still balling out 21 carries, 135 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But if that's the only thing that's carrying your offense, I mean, especially late in the game, and you can't sustain those points, it just – and you got – like it's just crazy. That's the crazy part, too. Like, you got a running back like that. You would think you'd be able to, run out the clock a little bit better, but you haven't. And it was favored by 3.5.
And you had Bijan Robinson, and you didn't use him enough, even though he did get 21 carries. Mm-hmm. And like you said, he averaged over 6 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns, caught 3 passes for almost 40 yards and a touchdown, and it still wasn't enough. But your defense let Jalen Warren look like he was a stud running back, and he's a solid player, but he's not that good, really. Yeah. You just didn't play good defense in that fourth quarter, and that's all there was to it. I mean, the guy averaged 5.8 yards a carry, had 193 carries. He basically carried your offense. They had 240 yards rushing against a Big 12 defense. Wow, that's ugly.
It is.
That's ugly. That's ugly.
Very ugly, man. I think it's just insane how Texas is so inconsistent. We keep saying it. We've been saying it all season. Those three teams just so inconsistent. I don't know. But let's get to our next game. We're gonna get to the BYU versus Baylor. BYU came into this game ranked 19, losing to Baylor 38-24. Hall had a really good game as far as yards, 342 yards. He only had one touchdown with that. But the running game, 67 yards total.
Yes,
And
Tyler.
those come from the quarterback. What is going on in BYU?
Well, they've always been kind of a throwing team, and apparently they're going to continue because even though I like Tyler Algier, I think he's a good football player. He averaged a little over 2 yards a carry. I mean, it's just like you said, only 67 yards rushing. And honestly, Jaron Hall's stats look good, but it didn't matter in the end because they didn't score a lot of points off of that stuff. So, I mean, like, only one touchdown pass probably should have been a little better than it was. I mean, that Puka Nakua had a nice game, almost 170 yards receiving, averaged over 30 yards of reception, scored a touchdown. But again, if your defense can't stop, Baylor from running the ball down your throat for over almost 300 yards, then what are you going to do? So
303 yards.
Man, I mean, it's crazy. They made Abram Smith look like Emmitt Smith. It was crazy,
man. No, you're right though. Like my man had 27 carries, 188 yards, 3 touchdowns. They just couldn't stop him. They really couldn't.
The backup running back, Tristan Ebner, averaged 8.6 yards a carry, had 95 yards and 11 rushes. I mean, you can't win games if you're going to give like 300 yards rushing. It's just not going to happen. Because honestly, if I'm averaging almost a first down every time I touch the ball, I'm never throwing the ball.
Exactly.
I understand everything is a passing league right now. It is. But if I'm averaging almost 10 yards a carry, why would there are 3 things can happen when you throw a football, right? And only one of them are good. Okay? The other 2, incomplete pass or interception, are not good. So if I could just do this or this or this and get 10 yards a carry, why would I ever throw the ball? Right.
I like it.
Toss body right, toss body left. There you go.
There you go.
I'm getting 10 yards. Why would I ever throw it?
No, I agree. Oh man. So so BYU losing to Baylor, that was a big shocker to me. But speaking of big shockers, let's get to our next game. Let's get to the game, I believe the game of the week, and the game that everybody should or probably was talking about. Purdue beating Iowa. Number 2 Iowa, 24-7. Right. Speaking of teams that don't rush the ball, both of these teams didn't run at all. 86 yards for Purdue, 76 yards for Iowa. I mean, what's going on? Why nobody wants to run anymore? Iowa was favored by 11 points.
Iowa's not that good, man. They're just not. They're not. They should have lost to Penn State the week before.
Pereira's, however you say his last name.
Petrus.
4 interceptions. Petrus.
Yes.
3 interceptions. I'm sorry,
4 interceptions. 4 interceptions, minus 24 yards from scrimmage when he put the ball in his hands and tucked it. I mean, that's just – Purdue is not that good, man, but they played way down there. Don't get me wrong, Iowa's a better team than Purdue. They are. But they're not – they should never have been a top 5 team. They're not. They're just not. They should have lost to Penn State the week before, and believe me, they're going to lose more games this year too. Because even though their front 4 is good, it is, and their front 7 is pretty good, but that's it. That's it. Their offense is inconsistent. The secondary is not great. They're not that good.
Speaking of the secondary not being great, 240 yards receiving from David Bell.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Well,
Sheesh. He got burnt by one guy the entire game.
yeah. I mean, we knew David Bell was pretty good, but we didn't think he was that good.
Yeah, they made him look like Chris Olave out there, like just do whatever he wanted to.
I did. I honestly, Jerome, the funny thing is that if somebody would have asked me, like it's hard doing our show because like when especially when people ask me about what games I like, usually what I like to do is look at the line early and then look at it like Thursday or Friday and then get a better feel for it.
Yeah.
Because whatever way the line moves may change my opinion on what I think is going to happen in the game. By Saturday morning, I would have told you that Purdue would definitely cover against Iowa, if not win the game.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that swing. I really didn't see that.
I didn't think they were going to win the game, but I thought it was going to be way closer than the 11-point spread.
Yeah. Okay. We'll definitely be talking about some pick'ems later on. We got a couple more games we're going to talk about real quick, and then we're going to get to our pick'ems. We're going to skip out on a UNC game. Just to let you guys know, UNC beat Miami 45-2. So, say what you want about that game. It was UNC just been a disappointing team this year, to say the least.
Yeah, well, we'll sum it up like this: Miami and North Carolina are both inconsistent this year. Neither one of them are going anywhere. Miami just a little bit, or coach a little. Well, I do think the UNC is a fairly well coached team. I just don't think they have a lot of talent. Again, they're another team that if you're going to go in there and fire Mac Brown, no, you need to give him a couple more years to rebuild his roster like it was last year, and then see what he can do. Or we can just blow him out of the water and hire another coach. But Miami is about as poorly coached team as there is in college football.
Definitely. I agree. We're going to quickly also touch on the Georgia Bulldogs beating the Wildcats, Kentucky Wildcats, 30-13. Kentucky cannot run the ball for nothing, and they just gave up on the run altogether. Levis had 42 attempts, so that just tells you all that needs to be said there. And that defense is nasty. What do you have to say about this team?
Yeah. Georgia's defense is really good. I don't know if their offense is going to be enough to carry them to where they really want to go this year, but their defense is really good. And this was a game like Georgia-Kentucky was a boring game because you always thought Georgia was going to win in the end. And Kentucky kept it close for like the first half, fairly close for the first half. But then you just saw like Georgia they're just so much better talent-wise. I mean, it's just it was like one of them games where I would have loved to have seen Kentucky to come out and play a really good game, but I kind of knew they weren't going to. You know what I mean?
So another reason I wanted to talk about Georgia real quick because I wanted to kind of look at their final games, and they're going undefeated. They got Missouri, they got Tennessee, they got Charleston State or Charleston Southern. Charleston Southern, and they have Georgia Tech. Now, don't get me wrong, Georgia Tech been playing really good this year. Very surprising team for who they normally are as a team, but Georgia's not losing this year. They're going to go undefeated. They're staying number one.
I agree with you. I think that the Georgia Tech is the one game I hear that stuff that kind of like leaves me a little leery because Georgia Tech will run the ball and make Georgia play good defense against them. Yeah. But I think they can and they will. Again, if I were a Georgia fan, I'd be very excited. Now, I would know in the back of my
mind. I hear it all the time. Trust me.
No, but remember, tell them this. Kirby Smart will have to eventually coach against Nick Saban.
Oh, Ray. You're trying to get me in trouble down here, man. You're trying to get me in trouble down here.
Yeah, man. Dude, I would probably root for Georgia. Like not people. A lot of people know this. My wife actually roots for the Georgia Bulldogs. She was born in Georgia. She's not a huge fan, but she likes Georgia. She loves Ugg, of course. Ucla. She's a dog person too. So, and I would root for them to beat Alabama. But do I think they will? Ask me a little later in the season. Right now, I would probably say no.
Yeah, so it's gonna take to that championship game to see if they actually stay number one all the year. But yeah, they were gonna stay number one to the regular season. So
and that's the one thing that scares me about Georgia. Against Alabama, they're going to have to do something on offense that's going to be a little different, and that's where I get scared.
Yeah, because the strength of all of Alabama is definitely their defense for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get to our next game. We're gonna hit on this one quick as well. Iowa State beating Kansas State 33-20. Ray, this is a game that I was mad about because I went against the grain on this one. I had Kansas State going against the spread as well, and they lost 33-20. What you take away from this game, Ray?
I was not surprised. I had Iowa State, so
you did.
I wasn't surprised. I mean, honestly, Jerome, when I pick the games, the players are not important to me, unless I think this is a close game, but this roster is a little better. Then I'll probably pick that team, like in the Oklahoma State Texas game. I thought it was going to be a fairly close game, but I thought Texas was a little bit more talented, so they would probably win the game. But the lines are usually where my final scores come from, man. That's where my predictions come from. I understand that the people that make these lines, these betting handicappers, probably know that part of the game more than anybody else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, there's upsets every week. So you got to figure out where they're going to come from. You know what I mean?
So, I agree. Yeah. So yeah, again, like I said last week, the reason why I picked this game for Kansas State, not only because I'm a big Vaughn fan, I like Skylar Thompson. I think him coming back this year really lifted up Kansas State a little bit more, even though their schedule was a little bit harder this year. But the inconsistency with Purdue, Breece Hall, they've been teams been really focusing on Breece Hall. Breece Hall had a good game, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. Purdy had a good game, 200 yards and a touchdown. No turnovers between either of those guys. And they just were a better team this year. They actually look balanced for them. So
that to me is the key for Iowa State.
Yeah.
Find your running game. Don't let Brock Purdy be the guy who tries to win the game for you. When he's playing in rhythm, he's been a solid player. Keep waiting for him to play like he did a couple years ago. But what'd you say? I'm sorry.
He was 22 for 25.
Right. So when he's playing in rhythm, he's a good, solid player. When he tries to be the hero, that's not his game, man.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that from this game and from them at all. I was just dumbfounded. I was just like, wow. I mean, they played a perfect game where, like you said, the inconsistencies that I was worried about, you didn't see it at all in this game, which was great for them. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, they couldn't put it all together all year, and Brock Purdy's still going to not be one of the top quarterbacks coming out, but.
Dude, honestly, even with last week's game, I wouldn't draft Brock Purdy right now. I mean, if I had he will
get drafted, but I agree.
Well, he will, but if I had a 6th or 7th round pick and I was looking for a developmental type quarterback, I may take a flyer on him then. But we were talking about him being a 2nd round pick a couple years ago, coming off of a really good season. Some people were saying late first, but we were looking, at least 2nd round pick. Now you're talking about 5th or 6th or 7th round. I mean, that's regression, man. That is, and that is just him not being smart with the football. People don't want incomplete passes. But when you incomplete a pass, you're like, okay, well, maybe the receiver didn't do his thing. Maybe you weren't on the same page. When you're throwing picks, that's when, well, I can't have that. You can't turn the ball over, man. You can't. If you turn the ball over, I don't care what coach you have, you're not going to play. It's that simple.
I agree. All right, let's get to our last game before I get to our pick-ons real quick. It's going to be Arizona State losing to Utah, 35-21. Ray, every time I pick Utah this year, they've lost.
Yes.
Every time I didn't pick Utah, they won.
Yes.
I mean, I'm happy for Utah because this is I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was their first game after what happened to they coming back from what happened to one of their players passing away. They had tremendous heartbreak this year, losing two players that passed away within a whole calendar year. So shout out to Utah for still playing and still kicking it in there and still doing their thing out there. But this is a game that me and you both picked Arizona State. Arizona State is a team that me and you both thought was the better team, and for the first half, it looked like that. It was 21-7, and then Utah was like, yeah, no, let's tighten this up. They had some early turnovers. Utah had, which kind of put them in the hole, but then they really rallied back. Ray, what's your assessment of this game?
Kind of what you just said. Arizona jumped out to a lead and was looking like they were going to be okay. Gave up on the running game a little too soon for me, man. And then a couple bad field positions, bad punt, kind of like put you in a bad situation. Again, but I give Utah a lot of credit. Again, playing with pride and like going through some stuff, and maybe that's part of the reason why I pushed them over the edge. I think me and you are both we both like Herm Edwards maybe a little bit too much. We always want to look at him. He's the guy, and we want him to win games. But I mean, if it would have been like 27-21, I'd have been like, yeah, a good game. But I was surprised by how many Arizona State's defense played really bad in the second half. That surprised me.
Yeah, and I agree with Daniels played a solid game. 20 for 31, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the defense just really let them down. Like you said, they gave up on a run really early. Only had, better than some of the other teams. Don't get me wrong, but they had 147 yards rushing, 48 yards rushing. I just think that sometimes, man, like things in life just makes you just get you up, and I applaud those kids, man, for being able to get out there on the field with heavy hearts and be able to still go out there and play the way they did.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's not funny, but it's like when you're down at halftime and you're already having like heavy heart, you're just like, man, this game's over. At that point, I don't think I'll still be thinking about the game.
But the
game's already over. This whatever, and then for them to come out and rally the way they did, like kudos to them, man.
They did, and like I said, they stuck with the run.
Yeah.
They made some big plays off of the running game, and Arizona's defense was really poor. Had a lot of poor tackling in the second half, and again, I think Arizona's inability to establish a running game kind of really hurt them closing out the game in the second half. I do.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ray, and it's just. Like I said, kudos to them. They played a heck of a game. I might have to pick against them each week now so they can win. So that's crazy right there. But let's get into our pick'ems. I'm gonna pick our score up right there. Rays up by 6 games. I lost this week by 1 game, but it's still a long season. I have some time. I'm coming back. I said that last week, but I don't care. I'm coming back. This is my week. I'm getting 4 games this week. Yeah, Ray. You're hitting that. You're about to hit the 50 game mark right now, right? Looking good right now, man. So kudos to you for your picks, but I'm coming back for you. Just to let you know. So don't get comfortable.
I got you. I'm not.
All right, let's get to our week 8 pick'ems. Let's get right into it. Before we start, just want to let you guys know we are currently live, and the Coastal Carolina game versus Appalachian State is playing right now. So good luck to the Chandeliers. It's currently 0-0. So if any point change happened while we're talking, I'll let you guys know. If you're not directly watching that game right now. But let's get to our first game. Wisconsin versus Purdue. Let me get my line for that. Ray, who you have in that one?
You know what? I have Wisconsin basically.
Wisconsin is favored by 3, although they're not ranked, and Purdue is ranked 25.
Wisconsin is a better, more physical team than Purdue. They're not going to crap the bed this week. They're favored by 3 and they're on the road. I think they'll probably win.
I will agree. And the reason why is that Wisconsin is not as bad as the record show. They just been playing better teams.
They have been. They've been playing good teams. Sometimes if you're an okay team playing good teams, you're going to lose. I mean,
yeah.
Again, they're a more physical team than Purdue. I think Purdue, again, and I know Purdue beat Iowa last week, and I'm not using that. Like, see, some people think, look how well Purdue played against Iowa. Iowa didn't play well. That's why Iowa lost last week, and that's all there is to it. Okay, Wisconsin will not fall to sleep like that.
Yeah,
and I think they're a more physical team, and I think they're going to win the games.
Yeah, and they played us tough. I mean, they played Michigan tough.
They played Notre Dame tough for a first half. If it wasn't for turnovers, interceptions in the second half, they played well against Notre Dame.
Exactly. So I'm not going to take away from Wisconsin. There was a team that was a team that I thought was going to be good this year anyway. I mean, like we said, they're just playing against better teams this year. Mm-hmm. But I'm on board with you, Ray. I honestly don't think that line should be as close as it is, to be honest.
No, I don't think so. I think that you got to remember though, Purdue's home. That's 3 points right there, 2.5, 3 points. So you're talking about like 5.5, 6 points actually, really.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
definitely. You're the point spread guy.
Okay.
All right, let's get to our next game. We got Oregon versus UCLA. Who are you taking in that one, Ray?
I got Oregon in that one, Jerome. I got Oregon. Yeah. I got UCLA favored by 1.5, 2 points. They're home. I'm going to say they're going to be upset by Oregon this week. UCLA had a big win last week. I think they're going to come back to earth this week. I don't like picking against Chipadelphia, but I'm going
to yeah, Ray. I'm jumping that Chipadelphia hate train as well. Not for those reasons though, but I do think that Oregon is going to play a little bit better than they have. They're still ranked number 10. They still got a really good running game. They've been struggling since that Ohio State game.
They have, but UCLA kind of has a little bit of a soft defense. I expect Oregon to have a good game against them.
I would not be surprised if this game do not at least be 500 yards rushing between both teams.
Oh, I agree with that.
I would not be surprised. Put that in my hot takes. Put that in my hot takes.
Yeah. I just think that Oregon is a better overall team. I don't see UCLA as a good team. I just think that they have a good coach and their offense is pretty good, but their defense is not that great. So
yeah, I agree. All right, we got Maryland versus Minnesota. I'm sorry, Maryland versus Minnesota, the inter conference rivalry. Minnesota is favored by 5. Ray, who are you taking?
I got Minnesota.
I picked this game on purpose because I knew this was going to be a hard one for me. They're both 7-2. I kind of like Maryland slightly better. I mean,
let me know which way you're going, man, so I can put your name down on it. God.
I'm going to do it.
All right.
But I'm just letting you know, I'm not comfortable with this one. I'm not. I know.
It don't matter. Once I put your initial next to the game, it's your game, man.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with this game because they are very similar teams. I think I had Merlin being a better team. They lost 2 games, but I feel like they play a little bit better than their record shows.
I agree with you, and I think they're an up-and-coming team.
Yeah.
And they have Tua's brother, a quarterback, which we know, and I kind of root for the kid.
Yeah.
But I think that Minnesota is a little bit better coach team. And they're a little bit more physical, I think, up front.
I gave you that. Yeah, and that's the reason why I'm so not sure about this, but I'm gonna get the slither of a slightness. This might be like a 2-point game. It might come down to like a safety or something like that.
You know what, though, Jerome? It's a 5-point spread. Minnesota is going to get 3 for home. So they see it the same way. They see it as a field goal game. 2-3-point game.
Agree.
Yep.
I 100% agree. Yep. So we'll see about that. All right, Oklahoma State versus Iowa State. Ray, who are you taking on that one?
I got Iowa State in that one.
Iowa State?
Yes, sir.
Iowa State twice in a row?
Yes, sir.
Ooh. See, this is funny because this is one of those games that's going to be close for me, too. I'm looking for the point spread. And
point spread is 6.5. Iowa State's favored by 6.5.
Iowa's favored by 6.5. Of course you picked them.
Of course
I know. Oh, man. I have 7, actually. I have 7.
Okay. Well, hey, either way.
It's worse on my end.
Exactly.
I'm going to go with the number 8 team. 6-0. I think people sleeping on them a little bit more. And, again, I can't take Iowa. I still, even though they proved me wrong last week, I'm still not 100% convinced. I'm not. So I'm gonna take Iowa. I'm gonna take Oklahoma State. We'll see how this goes, Ray. Oklahoma State been playing really well though, and I like their running game. So
I like Oklahoma State's coach too.
Yeah.
I do. I think he's a very good coach. But Iowa State's favored by 6.5, 7. I'll take Iowa State.
All right, here we go. Let's get to the team that just fired their coach, LSU versus Ole Miss. Ray, who are you taking in that one? Are they gonna play well for their coach? They're not favored. They're underdogs by 9 points.
I'm taking Ole Miss.
Yeah, I'm taking Ole Miss as well. Ole Miss will be 6-0 if they didn't go for that 2-point conversion.
Yep, there you go.
Ole Miss looking pretty good. I like their quarterback. And LSU's defense been disappointing me so much this year.
Their defense is a sieve.
Huh?
Their defense is a sieve, man.
I don't know what's going on with that defense. And again, you guys watch this from the beginning, you know that I've been saying I think LSU's defense is going to be better this year. It's going to be much improved from last year. They're going to improve on what happened last year. Last year was an anomaly because COVID.
You're not going to like what I have to say here, man. Just like the Miami Dolphins, if your best players are in your secondary, you're not good enough.
I hate you. Why would you do that to me?
Jerome, man, their best players are all in their secondary. If you get dominated if you get beat up front, you're going to lose.
You're right, Ray.
Period.
Right, Ray. You're right though. If receivers run, then this is why I say defensive back is the hardest position in football outside of quarterback, because you have a wide receiver, they know where they're going. The defense don't know which way.
You know why really corners position is so hard to play mentally? So late is because it's like quarterback. If the players around me don't do their job, I'm screwed.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There is no one behind me to take my back.
And
I let this guy beat me, and if I can beat me for a yard. If I let him beat me for a yard, I'm screwed.
Yep, that could be a 3-yard slant.
Correct.
Born. Yeah.
It could be a touchdown. It could be anything. Right. That's why we talk about this so much, Jerome. The Miami, and I'm only going to use Miami Dolphins one more time. I promise people.
Right.
Miami's defense is built inaccurate because they spent all their money on their back line players, and their up front guys are not good enough. Okay, offense and defensive line in Miami. When you are putting too much collateral, putting too much of your cap, of your draft stock in your back end defense, corners, wide receivers, you're making a mistake. If you can't dominate up front, you will not win, period.
I agree. All right, let's get to our next game. This is a pick'em, and I had this game as a pick'em as well. We got Clemson, the 4-2 Clemson, the unranked Clemson. Nobody thought they was gonna be unranked this year against the 2013 Pittsburgh, 5-1. They are favored 3 points at home. Pittsburgh is, which is a pick'em. Ray, let the listeners know who you got in this one.
This game is scary, man.
Hard.
Scary.
You know who you want. You know who you kind of want to pick.
I want to pick Pittsburgh because they're 3-point favorites, but I want to pick Clemson because they're a better coach team. So who am I taking? That is very difficult, man.
This game is hard.
You know what, Jerome? I'm going to take Clemson. A part of me wants to take Pittsburgh in the worst way because they're favored, but they're at home. They're only favored by 3. Some lines are 3.5. I would love to see what this line is going to be like by Friday because that would give me a really good feel about how it's going to go. But I do think Clemson is a better coach team, so I think I'm going to go with Clemson.
This game is so hard. I mean, Clemson been playing absolutely – I'm not going to use the word I was going to say, but they've been playing bad. They've been playing so bad. Pittsburgh been a surprise team. They've been playing very, very well. And their quarterback, I'm blanking on his name, but just playing really well as well. Very solid quarterback.
Pickett.
Yeah. Man, Ray, I gotta go for what I know, and I'm gonna be on the same side as you. I'm gonna go Clemson, but I would not be surprised if they.
I know this is Jerome. This is a pick'em game. This is a 1-2 point game. Mm-hmm. It probably doesn't matter which team. Of course, we say that, and one of them will get blown out by 30. But this point is not a 27-24 game, 30 to 27 game. I would be very surprised.
I 100% agree with you, Ray. Been picking Clemson all year. Very disappointing team. You guys, I'm not going to repeat my preseason prediction, but it was pretty bad, and that hot take is out the window. I'm usually pretty good with my hot takes.
Talk about the quarterback, or
yeah. We're talking about quarterbacks.
Man. Again, if you don't block, Trevor Lawrence hit a lot of your blocking deficiencies last year because he is that good. Yeah. This kid is good, but he's not that good. And if you don't put a balanced running game behind him, then he's not going to be as good. I'm not going to try to say his last name either. I got to practice that name to say it, and I haven't practiced it enough.
Yeah, because it was nothing to talk about with him.
Correct. Right, exactly. But I think he's going to be fine. Yeah, Clemson is in the same boat as LSU. Now, are they going to fire their coach? No, they're not. But if they're bad again next year, maybe they will. But I think Clemson will be fine. But they're another team. They get talent, but they need to build on that talent. You're like, okay, we got this team. These guys were here for their first year, so they're going to be back next year. Then they'll bring in their recruits for next year. And then, okay, now we had nice pieces here. Now we got this year, and this year we built up some nice pieces. Now the third year we add more nice pieces. Now we're ready to compete for a championship. If you think you're going to compete against Alabama every year in Ohio State, you're wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, and the thing is, I was really hoping that DJ Ucla, I think I said it right.
You did. Very good job. Good job.
Woo, let's go. DJ Ucla.
Should have quit while you were ahead, Dad.
I tried again.
Yeah, you got it. You're fine.
I was really hoping that he was going to be really good this year because from what I've seen last year and from what I know, I would love his assets on like an Eagles team, to be honest. Like, he got the arm, he got the size, he can move. I like that about him, but the team is just not making him look good right now. It really is not. So
it just goes to show you, honestly, Jerome, like when people criticize quarterbacks, like he looked like he was going to be a stud in them 3-4 games he played last year. Just shows you You know what, Jerome? I've said this to you before. If you're a quarterback and you're the best player on your offensive team, you're in trouble. Okay?
I agree.
If you don't have linemen, skill players that are at least close to your level, you are in trouble.
Definitely agree with that, Ray. All right, let's get to our next game. We're gonna go NC State versus Miami. Why did I pick this game?
I don't know that. That's a good question. NC State. That's easy enough. NC State. I'm in.
I put these games together. NC State for sure. What's the line on that one, right?
NC State is favored by 3, but they're in Miami, so it's almost like 5 or 6, dude. So
yeah. I mean, I do look at the lines before we get on. Usually it's like Monday, so it changes a lot between then.
Until Miami fires Manny Diaz, I don't know if I can ever pick them again.
I agree with you, Ray. I 100% agree with you. And again, I'm in the same boat, Ray. I didn't know if you felt any other type of way because NC State is favored and they are away. NC State just a better game, a better team. I don't even know why this line is so close, to be honest.
Because
they're away, so they got a couple of extra points.
Well, that's one reason Miami's at home.
Yeah.
And again, if you look at Miami's roster, it's not bad. But if you watch them play it's funny, and I had the luxury or the unluxury, I'm a Dolphins fan. So a lot of the podcast people that I do cover the Hurricanes. And I'm only reiterating what they say. And I watch highlights of their games, and I'm like, and honestly, I don't know what their offensive scheme is. It changes from minute to minute. Their defense is a sieve. And it doesn't make sense because they have quality players at every level, but they don't play good football. Their coach is overmatched. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, Ray. And I just think that it's one of those things, man. So I don't know, man. I can't pick Miami. It's been like that for all season for me. So
I am a Dolphins fan, but I don't like the Hurricanes, so it's fine with me.
Well, yeah, I agree. Well, a game that you are a fan of, Notre Dame, playing USC. Sorry, who are you?
Well, I got Notre Dame. I mean, they're favored by 6.5, and they're Notre Dame. Yeah. I mean, if the line were 6.5 the other way, like I would pick USC. I'm not gonna lie about it, but it's 6.5. They're on the road. How can I not pick them?
Yeah. You guys are 13. You guys been struggling all season, so that was a struggling 5-1. The struggling is definitely picked up when y'all lost your game. They're only favored by 6.5 and they're home. So the game is the line is closer than it looks. I'm gonna go Notre Dame as well. I'm not gonna go UNC. And for some of the same reasons that we talk about some of the inconsistent teams, because they have an inconsistent quarterback in Slovis. So I am gonna say Notre Dame. I say this every week. Y'all defense just disappointed me. Like, I thought y'all defense was gonna be top defense in the nation type of defense, and it is showing that JOK really made a difference in that defense. That kid flies around, and he's doing the same thing that he did in Notre Dame right now in Cleveland.
Yes, Coromello is a stud, and having that guy, like we've talked about this too, Jerome. You want your linebacker either to be aggressive, where he can help out in the front and rushing the quarterback, playing some shading in some coverages, or you want him to be almost like a second defensive or a fifth defensive back where he can play in coverage and stuff. Coromello can do everything. And losing a guy in that second level of defense is hurting them. It's just that simple. Their defensive line lost some players too, so they don't have the depth there either. And their corners aren't very good, but they hid that last year with pressure up front and a great linebacker.
I agree. I agree. All right, let's get to our next game. Utah versus Oregon State. Utah is favored by 3, and they are away. Who you taking?
I got Utah.
I'm taking Utah Also, and I hope there's
Oh, maybe
I
I should switch now. They got the
seriously. No, seriously, it's been like this all year. It's been like this all year. So I hoping I'm not the only. We're gonna see. All right, we're gonna make it a thing. Like if this really happens, like they really lose this week, it's me. It's me, and I'll promise. Hey, Utah fans, Utah fans, if you watching, I am so sorry if you guys lose. It's me. I promise it's me.
Do you pick pro games too on the other podcast?
I don't.
Can you do me a favor and pick the Bills every week?
Wow. I might do you that favor, sir. But no, seriously, I am so serious. If that happens, then it's definitely me.
I got you.
All right, last game real quick is gonna be two teams that I've been high on all season, and I've been picking both of these teams. So I go against one of these teams. Texas Tech and Kansas State. I'm gonna go with you, Ray. Who you got first? I'm looking for the line.
I got Kansas State. I got K-State, man.
It's a 1 point.
It is. Texas Tech is favored by 1 point, and they're at home, correct?
Yes.
So you know where I'm going. I'm going for the upset, brother. That's what I do.
This is such a hard game for me because both teams disappoint me a little bit. Texas Tech been a little bit better. They're 5-2. Kansas State is only 3-3. Skylar Thompson, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he can win games, but he's just been struggling. I ain't even struggling. It's just, I don't know. Because he's not really turning the ball over. So, but then Texas Tech, their defense is really good. Not really good, but they got a good defense. Man, I'm torn on this one, right?
Okay.
I'm going to go with Kansas State, though. We're trying to get up on points. That's what he's trying to do.
I'm trying, man.
I'm going to go K-State. I think K-State's going to try to run the ball a little bit more this week.
I just think that they're just a more balanced offense.
I agree.
I think Texas Tech's defense is probably a little better.
Yeah.
I think Kansas State's all balanced offense will just do enough to beat them. You know.
I agree. So we'll see about that one. And we'll see how many games you got different. 1, 2.
Just 2.
It's not gonna help me.
Especially because you're going to definitely lose the Oklahoma State one.
No. I'm winning that one. I'm confident in that one. The Miami game, the Merlin game. I could lose that one. But I'm confident in the Kansas State. Oklahoma State.
I don't. But the funny thing is that Oklahoma State's coach is really good.
Yeah,
and I don't like picking against them, even though I've done it 2 weeks in a row now. But I just look at an Iowa State team that's playing good, efficient football right now. Now I know that could change from week to week.
But
they played pretty well the last 2 or 3 weeks, so we'll see.
We will see. But that's gonna do it for us today, guys. So happy to be able to, duke it out with Ray each week with these pick'ems. It's always fun to see, how the games go afterwards. And I hope you guys are, following this because it's really fun to do. But we definitely excited to see how this game's going. And before we get off, to see if there's any updates on the Carolina, because Coastal Carolina is up 14-0. This team balling, man. This team just balls. But I'm gonna go watch this game and go watch my boy McCall and Isaiah Likeby, who we just got an interview with. So that will be out tomorrow.
Who if anybody's not watched him play, watch him play. Kid's a stud.
He's probably. I keep going back and forth on this because I want to say that he's the best tight end in the draft right now. He's one of the best. He
is without a doubt. Yes,
top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He's top 2 or 3.
The kid is an athletic specimen for sure. So
100%. He's a good kid. I really like him. So
yeah.
my interview with him will be out tomorrow. So make sure you go check that out InsideTheHatchet.com or on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, make sure you go like and subscribe because we got a whole bunch of great things. Podcasts like this. which we're on every Wednesday. We got the Air It Out podcast, which is on every Thursday. So make sure you go tune in for those. If you like college football, it's Wednesday. If you like pro football, that would be Thursday. And like I said, we got player interviews on there. We got gaming on there. We got a whole bunch of great stuff on there. So make sure you go check us out on YouTube. Check us on our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. And make sure you go check out our website. We have everything in there, including our blogs, which are some great blogs on there. And some great stories and things being told by our bloggers. So make sure you go check that out. We got some mock drafts on there already. We got fantasy football, which I'm doing terrible on. I'm just having a bad year, Ray. I'm just having a bad year. But we both are.
Yeah, my fantasy team's not good. So
right. I know this is not a fantasy football podcast, but I do not understand how I have the second most points in fantasy football, like total points. My worst game was 106 points, and I am 2-4 at this point. I don't get it.
I'm 2-4 also.
Don't get it,
Jerome. Not in this league, but I'm in like two other leagues, right? The one league I scored 171 points and lost by 3.
Dude, yeah, it'd be like that. Oh,
it's horrible. There's nothing worse. You're watching your scores. You're like, oh, I got 150 points. Oh, I'm fine. And then you lose by 3, 174 to 171. I'm like, and the worst thing about it was somebody gave up a touchdown at the end that didn't mean anything to somebody else's defense, and that's how I lost.
That
is a killer, man.
Worst.
Yes.
Garbage time stuff is the worst.
It's a killer.
Oh, it hurts. But guys, thank you guys for checking us out, man. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Please make sure you go tune in to us again next week. And if you want to make sure you watch, you can definitely watch later on YouTube. But hit that notification so you know we're live, so you can put your comments in live. Ask us any line questions or anything like that. Please check us out inside the Hashers and on YouTube. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you getting on. And again, hope you have a great night. I'm going to go watch the Carolina game. You guys enjoy the game as well. Have a good week, and we see you next week. Peace.